Which Side Podcast is a proud member of the Which Side Media Collective.
This is episode 62.
Yeah, this week we have Ken Spector on from Happy Cow.
Yeah, we had a good time talking to Ken.
If you guys don't know what Happy Cow is, you guys aren't vegan.
Yeah, everyone knows what Happy Cow is.
And if you really don't know, check them out at happycow.com. They have an awesome app for Android phones and iPhones. And the website, it's a must-have if you're traveling.
It really is. And even locally, I've found restaurants that I didn't know were vegan-friendly, and it's awesome.
Yeah, help the community out by rating your restaurants that you go to and find new ones. Cool. Yeah, do we have any events going on this week?
You could always go and spray paint your neighbor's car. Every Tuesday.
Do that. Go spray paint your neighbor's car every Tuesday.
And we have more events online at whichsidepodcast.com.
That one's not going to be listed on the events calendar.
Yeah, it's not.
For obvious reasons.
You shouldn't go and spray paint your neighbor's car. That's not very nice.
Or do. I really don't care either way. Unless I'm your neighbor, then please don't.
I still don't care. So, slingshot of the day.
Yeah, slingshot of the day. Did you know that on January 15th in 1922, the Irish Free State was established?
I did not know that.
Now you do.
And doing is half the battle.
Doing is half the battle?
Yeah.
Sure.
G.I. Joe.
It's knowing is half the
I
battle.
know it is.
Oh, okay.
But you said, and now you do. And so you couldn't say no.
Oh, and so I can say now you know.
Doing is.
Sorry, I failed that
You
setup.
did fail. You are always a failure. Enjoy Ken.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side? Which side are you on? 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 Which side are you on?
Hello? Can you
Hello?
hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, my name's Jordan.
Okay, let me see something. If I do this, how's that?
That
Hello?
sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
I'm Jordan.
And I'm
Hi,
Jeremy.
Jordan. Hi, Jordan and Jeremy.
How you doing today?
Hey, good.
So we usually just like to start, if that's fine with you. Go right into it. If you have any
Sure.
questions beforehand, we can definitely answer them.
Let's dive right in.
All right.
All I know is I love my tea. So I need to take an extra sip real quick.
What kind of tea are you drinking?
Right now it's just a black chai.
Okay, cool.
I was debating between black chai and Earl Grey right now, so I went with the black chai.
Nice.
Usually like a nice smooth oolong, though.
So you sound like you're into teas.
I am into teas, very much so.
Very cool.
Not so much that I'm into teas enough that I know I can't afford the teas I like.
Ah, yes. It's actually an incredible tea place right here in Beverly Hills that sells some really expensive ancient Chinese teas. You know, the aged Chinese teas that are very expensive.
Oh,
Haven't
wow.
tried those yet. What is it? Power?
Yeah, I've never had the luxury of trying to experience that yet.
Yes.
But
I get the cheapest I can usually.
have you ever had like a milk oolong?
I actually, I'm vegan, so I wouldn't drink milk. But I mean, like a soy milk or almond milk oolong, I haven't. I probably have in my days.
Oh no, sorry, I'm vegan also. But
you
there's
are?
there's a very specific type of oolong. It's called a milk oolong. That
I
in the
didn't know
region it grows on, it has extra lactose sugar develops in the leaf, and
Mhm.
so it has like a creamy consistency without adding anything to it.
I'm gonna have to write that down. Milk oolong.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fucking amazing. There is some fake ones out there that they'll actually add milk to it,
Mhm.
so you have to be careful with that. But American Tea Room guarantees that they are all milk free.
Ah, okay. I may have seen that before, but I probably assumed it had milk in it because it said milk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really the lactose that it's referring
I would
to.
have avoided it if I hadn't have known, for sure.
Yeah, sure.
It's amazing. It's seriously the best tea I've ever had.
Well, I'm going to have to check that out. And if you're in Beverly Hills, there's a really neat tea shop I'll take you to that's phenomenal. You might not be able to afford half of the teas in there because they're ridiculously expensive, but at least you can look at them and take pictures.
Definitely.
I used to love Moby's old tea place in New York called Teeny.
I know I mean, I interviewed Moby actually for Happy Cow a couple of months ago, and I think I brought up Teeny in that. I don't think he's involved anymore, is he?
Not to my knowledge, no. It burnt down.
Burned down.
I don't know if they rebuilt it or anything at that point. But
No.
I had the best peach oolong there. It was amazing.
Tea stories. God, I don't know. Best tea story. Actually, the best tea I think I've ever had was probably in Japan at a tea ceremony. I don't know what they did. They whisked the tea. It was probably sencha, powdered green tea. Sencha or matcha, one of the two. It was delicious. Maybe it was also because of the display. You know, the woman that was making it, and whisking it, and then serving it to me. That was really great.
Yeah, their tea ceremonies are quite amazing.
Yeah, my favorite tea is definitely a Japanese tea. I like genmaicha, which has like the roasted rice in it.
Yes, those are very good. Very good.
Tea talk, huh?
Yeah, I don't think there's very few people that
Is this the right interview?
So you interviewed Moby a little bit ago.
I did, yeah. I interviewed Moby. It's one of the things I've been doing with Happy Cow, and that is interviewing celebrities that just happen to be vegan. So I've interviewed quite a few, many in my day. I've interviewed probably over, I think it's close to 3,000 celebrities in my life, but more recently Moby. Actually, I'll be interviewing Mayim Bialik next month. She's going to be putting out a vegan cookbook, and her publicist called me and asked if I would interview her. So I'll be talking with her. But, it's a way of spreading the word of veganism. The more celebrities that get involved with the cause, the more we can spread the word quickly and make veganism look as cool as it is.
Most definitely. So maybe you can give us some tips on how to interview right. I have no idea what I'm doing when we interview.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what it is? I used to get really nervous when I started doing it. Some of my first interviews were actually like Robin Williams, Danny DeVito. I mean, these were big interviews, but they were some of my first. I was thrown into it. And one of the keys I realized is to never give yourself too much time in an interview. Just be very focused on just now. Sort of like being in the zone when you're shooting baskets, when you're shooting hoops. You just have to sort of be right there and just focus on what the person's saying and just pretend like nothing else exists, including your audience, just that person and you.
Mm-hmm.
That's about all I can say.
What we do is quite a little bit different because we do like the long form. So we try to, So
you give yourself as much time as possible.
Yeah, kind of.
Just the opposite of what I have had to do over the years.
Yeah, and sometimes it works out great because you can get into like deep stories, but also sometimes it's hard pulling stuff out of people.
Yeah. I mean, I remember years ago when I interviewed Robin Williams, he was completely on autopilot. In fact, he would feed me the questions and the answers. So I really didn't have to do anything. Whereas others, and I won't name any names, but there have been some that have been anywhere from drunk, which was not easy because these are on video, the interviews are on video. So it's a little bit different. You actually see the person been drunk, on drugs, which are not, which are more difficult because the person's usually really fragmented.
We've had
and some just don't want to talk. Some you ask a question and they give a one word answer. And that would certainly make your jobs tough because you've got, what is this, a full hour, half hour? How long is this interview?
Yeah, it's usually a full hour.
Full hour, yeah.
A full hour. Wow, cool.
Is that okay?
I'm certainly capable of talking for a full hour.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So what's your most memorable interviewing experience?
Oh, wow. Most memorable interviewing experience I've had, I would say the most memorable. It's funny because I've interviewed loads of celebrities, but I've also interviewed CEOs of companies and vegan fitness people and things like that. And I'm going to have to say some of the more interesting people are not necessarily the actors or the most famous people that you may have seen on television or in films, but people who are actually out there in the field doing that which an actor might be playing in an upcoming movie. I find that to be really interesting. Actually interviewing, I've interviewed people that are actually the soldiers that are or the pilots that are in a movie that are conveyed in a movie, the actual pilot, and then I interview the actor that's actually playing that pilot, and I find that interviewing the pilot is a lot more interesting. Interviewing the actors, sort of like interviewing me about interviewing a celebrity. It's exciting. So. But yeah, let me try to think of like one that's. I mean, yeah, Robin Williams was years ago, but that was one of my first. I just remember my leg was shaking the entire time because I interviewed, I think, 25 big name A-list celebrities in about 3 days in Las Vegas, and that was tough, but memorable. Well, it's funny. Recently, I mean, this just comes to mind. Recently, I interviewed Matt Damon, very recently, maybe a couple months ago, and I asked him about whether he would consider going vegan. And he gave me this long answer about how he was in Argentina with Casey Affleck and he was eating garbanzo beans out of dented cans for 2 weeks. And so he couldn't do it, which I thought was you could actually watch that interview. It was pretty funny. I thought, boy, this is a guy who could afford the best chefs in the world. And he's making his judgment based upon a couple of dented cans of garbanzo beans over 2 weeks. So I found that to be just pretty funny. That was something that was memorable. I'm sure there are a million other stories. I'm just so in the moment right now that I can't think of any. But if I come up with some, I'll certainly let you know.
Awesome. And correct me if I'm wrong, isn't Casey Affleck vegan?
Casey Affleck is vegan, and I guess he was trying. I'm not sure if he was trying, but he was traveling with Matt in Argentina, and I can just picture them in the outback on a Jeep eating dented cans of garbanzo beans. And
sounds great to me, honestly.
Yeah, for 2 weeks. Yeah. And so, he is vegan. And which leads me to another point. A lot of celebrities seem to be at least bring up the words vegan. Hey, we have Beyonce and Jay-Z, which is they're no longer vegan, but they did try it for 22 days. And it is starting to generate a lot of interest in our cause, which is very nice.
So,
Definitely.
So how did you get involved in veganism and animal rights?
Veganism, yeah. 22 years ago, I was in a bookstore, and there was a book that I believe was written in the 70s by a physiologist. They were the Diamonds. I remember that was the last name of the author, and then it was his wife. And I remember picking up this book, and I was already not enjoying meat very much. I remember biting into a piece of chicken when I was probably 10 or 11, and there was a vein that was caught in between my two front teeth. And I just remember feeling just absolutely nauseated by that. So I stopped eating chicken at a really young age, but for some reason, steak was really palatable. I don't know why, but it was like, oh, well, there aren't veins that are going to be, in my teeth for the most part. But anyway, I picked up this book and I was reading it, and it was talking about how I remember very clearly eating fruit in the morning. With all of the water richness of fruit, just makes a lot of sense because you're dehydrating yourself at night, you're respirating, and you're using a lot of water while you sleep. And when you wake up in the morning, you really want to get as much water-rich food in your diet as possible. And they talked about the physiology of meat as well. And I remember them talking about meat going through the digestive tract and how it took like 15 to 18 hours for a piece of steak to make it from your mouth out the other end. I thought 15 hours. And they talked about how it putrefies in your intestines. And I said, okay, I am no longer going to eat meat, and I'm only going to eat fruits and vegetables. And literally, I was never a vegetarian. I was a vegan from that day on. And that was it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I also loved animals, and I still do. But I didn't really make as clear of a connection as I should have.
I always find it interesting. I'm not an animal lover, and a lot of people find that really surprising. That I've been vegan for 20 years, and I'm honestly not. I mean, I make the connection, obviously, but it's not the love of animals that made me go vegan by any stretch of the imagination.
Yep. Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, very few people I meet who are vegans don't also love animals, but what's wrong with you? What do you have against them?
My big thing is, like, honestly, they do their own thing, I'll do my own thing, we'll be happy. Like,
so you don't like dogs sniffing you in your crotch? You don't like things like that?
No.
Okay. Not that I enjoy it, but I tolerate it.
I mean, I'll tolerate it because, you know, what
I
else are you
love
going to
it.
do?
No.
But I love it.
That's true.
No.
Interesting. But yeah, it's and it's funny because, you know, people say, you know, don't you miss meat? I'm sure, you know, being a 20-year vegan yourself, after 20 years of being vegan, when I think of meat, I guess possibly it has to do with conditioning over many years. When I even think of meat or chewing on a piece of steak, I feel sick. And that may be because I've conditioned myself to feel sick over a number of years, but I definitely don't crave it. So
Yeah, I could never imagine myself ever eating meat again. That's just something that's just not even imaginable.
Yeah. Well, at the time, it really wasn't as nearly as much about environmental causes. You know, I mean, people definitely weren't talking about global warming and methane and the amount of water that a cow uses versus the amount of water that wheat uses in terms of being able to feed human beings. So that didn't exist. Now that exists, it's even a more, you know, you don't have to love animals, but if you love human beings, if you love yourself, it just makes sense to at least look into it, at least reduce your meat intake, you know, not to support an industry that's basically killing us.
So what is the biggest change you've seen over the years when it comes to veganism?
Oh, sure. I would say that's one of the biggest ones is the fact that the environment has certainly been thrown in there as far as a cause go. I remember when I used to say vegan at restaurants, people never knew what it meant. They knew it. I thought vegetarianism was eating fish. And they thought that they didn't know what the word vegan meant. And it was interesting because I was at PETA probably a year ago, and I talked to someone about this. And she says, one of the reasons vegan has become such a common word is because we've put a lot of money behind the word vegan and not a lot of money behind the word vegetarian. PETA doesn't use the word vegetarian anymore for the most part. They just use the word vegan. And they've got this like covert group, you know, that tries to condition 13-year-olds and younger to become vegan. And they've got a whole website that sort of pushes that. And they're using as many celebrities as they can and controversy as they can. So, and I remember the quality of vegan foods. I remember trying some of my first vegan mock meats, and they were just not good. And they had sweet cheese, but it had casein in it. So I never really understood why there would be a dairy protein in a vegetarian product, and casein is probably the worst part of dairy. So I never really made that connection. But it was the biggest change is probably the quality of vegan food, the fact that people now know what the word even means, and it's really easy. You know, not many people don't know what it means anymore. You know, maybe they think honey is vegan, but they know that it's no dairy, and also the environmental issues that we now realize that the animal husbandry and even in fish and mercury, and it's amazing what's going on in this world.
So do you eat a lot of or I shouldn't say eat a lot, but do you consume a lot of the alternative products like the vegan cheeses or the vegan mock meats?
I don't. I consider them a treat more than anything. I still think the vegan cheeses have a high fat content and they don't have a whole lot of nutrition. But I'll go out and I'll have a vegan pizza with mock meat on it on occasion. But for the most part, I was actually a raw foodist for 10 years too.
Holy
completely
crap.
raw foodist, and that was tough because I was eating like a lot of nuts. And that was tough. But now I'm primarily raw, and I do eat cooked as well. But it's funny because I used to, I guess when I realized that these mock meats existed, I was eating a lot of them, like the pepperoni and whatnot. But more recently, maybe in the last couple of years, I just haven't been as interested in eating those. I just realized they're high in salt. I don't feel that great after I eat them. So on occasion, I'll do it, but not very often.
I know for us, it's like, as soon as a lot of the stuff came out, we were just like buying it up because we never had it before. It's like, oh my gosh, there's cheese, there's good tasting mayonnaise, there's
oh yeah.
No offense to mayonnaise, but
yeah, it's funny. I was just over at Vive La Vegan here in Los Angeles, which is our vegan grocery store here. There are two branches of Vive La Vegan. I was talking to the owner there, and he's looking to expand with his new website all over the United States. Even cold shipping his refrigerated products, which is pretty cool. But that's by the way, another thing is the vegan grocery stores are emerging in this world. But yeah, I saw there's so many like vegan analogs. I mean, from ice cream to cheese to you name it, it's all over the place, and a lot of them are really, really good.
oh yeah.
Yeah, totally. But what I've noticed about myself is that my personal consumption of all that has like dwindled dramatically as I've gotten older.
Mine
Like
too.
even my consumption of tofu is like
Yeah.
dwindled to like almost a luxury now.
hmm hmm Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it really, when it comes down to it, has to do with human beings and caloric density. It's like when you crave soy meat or meat, a piece of steak, I think what you're really craving is caloric density. You're certainly not craving a piece of lettuce. You know, a piece of lettuce alone with no dressing, it's not really gonna, serve us well if we're out in the wilderness and we need some calories. So, but caloric rich, I realized, just eating an apple and eating some raw macadamia nuts, which I'm actually doing right now. I mean, that is caloric density for me. I'll make some beans. Beans, from garbanzo beans to lentils. They certainly fill you up, and there's no problem with that.
So how did you start Happy Cow? Like how did that get take the ground roots? Because it's one of those things that like I always use, and like if I'm traveling anywhere, that's the first thing I look at. You know? And I've even found great local places that I never knew about with it.
Sure. I actually didn't start Happy Cow. It was Eric Brent who originally started it, but I can tell you the full story of how it was started. Eric is a world traveler. He's been to, I think, over 60 countries. I mean, he traveled for many, many years. And in 1999, when Happy Cow started, there wasn't anything like this. I mean, I think Amazon was still selling books. I mean, we're talking the ancient days of the internet. And so he went out and he started up a website that basically was just listing vegan restaurants and vegetarian restaurants. And the issue with just listing vegan and vegetarian restaurants is that there are plenty of towns in this country and plenty of places around the world that don't have a vegan or vegetarian restaurant. So as a result, it was PETA that really encouraged him to sort of put in the forefront veg-friendly restaurants. Because as you know, you can be in a small town in the United States, you're not going to find a vegan restaurant. You're not going to find a vegetarian restaurant. So it became, there was vegan and vegetarian restaurants, and it just started to grow. And then later on, several years ago, the Android and iPhone apps caught on, and we now have 150,000 Android downloads and about 50,000 iPhone downloads of our app, and it's very useful. And so that's pretty much how the company started.
Yeah, I actually just I went to Hawaii recently, and I found this awesome like diner using the app, and we were looking forever, and we're like, oh, I guess we'll just try this last entry in the list, and it was the best place I've ever been to.
Yeah, no, it's definitely convenient. No, it's really cool when it's cool when not traveling, but when traveling, it is amazing. Eric and I were in Europe for a good part of this year, actually, or a good part of 2013. We were in from Italy to Germany to Czech Republic. I was actually in Serbia, Romania, Bulgaria. I was all over the place, and what I found was, and when we were in England as well, just being able to walk around a city and then launch the app if there's broadband internet, it is the most amazing tool just to be able to navigate to all the vegan places in a day. It's really nice, and there's so many places you would not find otherwise.
Is that is it odd using like a product that you're involved with?
Not at all, because realize we're not adding a lot of the restaurants. It's a collaborative effort. I personally, last week added 2. We have 2 new ones in Beverly Hills, which is really cool. But people around the world are adding or suggesting, or restaurant owners are adding these restaurants and adding these health food stores. So it's really just a guide. It's really just a software. We're making it a little more than that. I mean, we have our new Happy Cow, Purple Cow mascot that we took over to Europe, and we've been showcasing around the country. And we're trying to make it more fun with videos and showcasing the vegan scene throughout the world. But using the app is just a tool that, it's nice to be involved with it, but I don't feel in any way weird using it. I love using it.
That's awesome.
So have you guys had any problems with user submitted data, like the accuracy, and how do you confirm the accuracy of the data?
Well, the first thing we do is we look at the website, and if we start to see red flags, I mean, sometimes, a restaurant, they'll submit because they just want to be on Happy Cow. They want to be part of it. But Yeah, we do get people that really around the world don't know what that vegan's not vegan means no honey, for instance. That's a big one. And so what happens is we allow you or anyone that's launching the app or using the website to submit an update listing, and one of the pull down menus is inaccurate data. And I've had to correct certain restaurants, and we found this one place that was like, it had a whole raw vegan section, but it also was serving foie gras. Wow. So I mean, it's like, wait a minute, there are restaurants that don't, I'm not sure if they quite get it, but they, at least they have vegetables, but when they're serving things like that, we have to question whether they should be on the site at all. But yeah, there sometimes is inaccurate data, but we do encourage people who are at the restaurant, if they have the app, great, launch up the app. If not, you can launch our mobile site, or you can launch happycow.com and just update it for us. And that, by you contributing or other people contributing, you're helping others, and you're making our site better so that it comes back to you. That the better data, someone else might decide, oh, this is a great resource and I'm going to use it. I'm going to update something. So as a world collaborative effort, it really is a good resource.
How do
great resource. I'm sorry?
How do you handle a situation where, like, the restaurant would be serving foie gras and
foie gras? So. We let them know, and it was funny. I think it was in Czech Republic. I'm getting all my European countries now mixed up. I believe I think it was Czech Republic when I went into a restaurant, and it might have been Germany, but I think it was Czech Republic. One of the two. Went in, and they were upset because they said, we're vegan. We're vegan. I said, no, but you have fish on your menu. Yeah, but that's only like one day a week. So, it's like, we just tell them we really have to draw the line somewhere. Uh-huh. And if we put that it's vegan, that's not the truth. And they weren't happy with us. I remember, I try to do it in the most political way possible. And I think Eric stepped in as well. We both were trying to, protect the site. And we were saying, well, we really like your restaurant, but, really what we'd love them to do is to take fish off of the menu. But they said, but people really like fish. So we just said, okay, then you're veg friendly. There you go. So I don't know what to say.
I'm sorry.
But they want that. And by the way, on Happy Cow, if you're a veg friendly restaurant, if you do serve meat, you can't get a 5-star. The highest rating you can get is a 4-star.
Huh.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep.
That's cool.
I really like that.
We got to penalize them somehow.
Yeah.
But we have to, we figured out, we'll make it so that maybe that'll encourage them to remove meat from their menu. It's funny. We're in a day and age right now where I definitely haven't tasted anything other than like shrimp or the more dense, like shellfish. Mm-hmm. I haven't really tasted anything that tastes, just like fish. I never really liked fish that much anyway, but as far as that perhaps is missing. But as far as like vegan meats, there are so many things out there right now that can replace meats. Mm-hmm. And, we feel like, hey, at least try it, at least show that you can do it, or at least show that you're putting in the effort. And, then maybe your customer base will start to suggest you put more of this stuff on your menu. Maybe then you'll end up going, completely vegan. That would be great.
Have you received any flack from the vegan community at all?
Always. I mean, it's, what I find is in the world is that whenever you've made it, whether it be in music, whether it be in arts, whether it be in a website, when you've made it, people are going to complain about you. And that's probably a good thing. It shows that you've actually been successful. People don't take the time to complain about you publicly unless you actually have made it to a certain level. But yeah, I mean, people are always going to complain. I remember one guy, this is, I don't know if it's a celebrity, but I remember talking to him at a party and he goes, man, I hate your site. And he was vegan too. I said, well, why? He says, because I went to a restaurant on your site and it was terrible. I said, we didn't create the restaurants. And I said, was the reviews good? He goes, well, I think it was like a 2 or 3 star. Well, it was 2 or 3 star. Well, we listed it because they're vegan. We're not going to pull a restaurant because the food's not good. We're just there to showcase these vegan restaurants, but it's up to the reviewers to review them. But I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was blamed for that.
Well, how dare you?
Yeah, exactly. So, but overall, I mean, most people overall, I mean, they're very supportive of the site. One litmus test of whether people are vegan or not is asking them if they know Happy Cow. If you go up to somebody and say, have you heard of Happy Cow? And if they say the website, then you can ask, are you vegan? And usually they're going to say yes, or they're going to say they're vegetarian. So those people, they tend to just appreciate it. There's always little crazy stories. Especially, I love when people write in, they ask for a recipe on how to make roast beef. I mean, that's always nice. Not that that's giving us flack, but we don't, Eric forwards me those, and he says, Ken, these are the type of emails I have to screen every day.
So you're probably one of the few people that have been to more vegan restaurants than I can imagine.
I've been to loads and loads of vegan restaurants. Even in Los Angeles, I'm a guy that when I go out to eat, and I know restaurants are going to hate me for this, when I say this, but I don't like going to the same restaurant twice, even good restaurants. I so much prefer to try a new restaurant. I can say that I've tried every single vegan restaurant on Happy Cow and all of probably all of California, all of LA, wow. Definitely. A lot in New York, a lot in the Virginia area, around the world. Tried lots. So I'm the type of person that I'll eat at a new restaurant maybe 3 times a week. So that's a lot. That adds up in a year. That's a lot of restaurants.
That is a ton.
Do you always review them on Happy Cow?
I do. I like to. Sometimes I don't. I do sometimes. It really depends. Really depends on how much time I have. But I've been doing it a lot more recently. And I'll tell you where the dilemma sometimes comes in. It's like, do you want to walk into a restaurant and say, hi, I'm Ken from Happy Cow? And then, being that it is a new vegan restaurant, the food comes out and it's lousy. And then you're in this weird dilemma. You're like, oh, wow, they know who I am. And now they know I'm going to be writing a review and it's going to be lousy. Or do you just go in anonymously? Problem is, if you go in anonymously, you're probably not going to get that free dessert, that they throw. So it's a very fine balance between, like, you have to sort of look at other people's food. And if it smells good and it looks good, then you might say, hi, I'm Ken from Happy Cow. If not, you just walk in and you say, oh, hi, I'll just have your tempeh, whatever it is.
So I'm sure you probably get asked what's your favorite restaurant all the time, but what's your least favorite?
A least favorite?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like the worst experience.
I'll tell you something. Well, I'll tell you, this is really funny. New Year's Eve, there was nothing open. I really hadn't made many plans. It was actually the day before New Year's Eve. Actually, I remember, maybe been 2 days before New Year's Eve. I ended up going to this place because I had never been there before. And they had vegan pizza, and it was late. And I was like, I haven't tried this place before. It was the worst vegan pizza I've ever had. Oh my God, it was terrible. It was like soggy crust, and it was small, and it was $31 for a 14-inch pie. And it was ridiculous. So that was one of my worst recent memories. But my worst, maybe I have to say, it's coming to me. What's really funny is I have the way my brain works is a lot of people, when you say, what is your favorite vegan restaurant? Like, oh, this is so hard. I don't know. Mine, I can name them off just like that. My worst ones, I try to put them in a part of my brain that I can't access. So I now have to basically pull back a deeply repressed memory that I've intentionally pushed in the recesses of my mind. So, but I feel it. I feel it coming up. It's like, it's like bringing bad food back up. It was okay.
Regurgitate.
Wait, it's coming to me. It's coming to me. Now, it has to be a vegan restaurant or just restaurant?
Just restaurant.
Oh, restaurant. Okay. Oh, man. There's one and I don't even know the name. There's one in Romania. No, it wasn't in Romania. It was in Serbia. I'm sorry, Serbia. That was just like, wow. But it was bad. But the worst experience I've had at a restaurant. I'm trying to think. I actually have never been. This is a really good question. You see that? You put me on the spot. Okay, let's see here. Worst. Does anyone really want to hear the worst restaurant? No one's going to go to it after I tell them.
Exactly. You're saving us.
Okay, let's see here. Around the world. Okay. There's so many. There are so many bad ones, and they're all like merged together in this really disgusting soup, And it's just bad restaurants. Okay, Serbia. No, I can't put Serbia down. But this one restaurant I ate at was just terrible. Lousy. Okay. I can name one that was pretty recent. I went to. It was. Did I say the name? I guess I could say the name. It's probably not. It's not going to be on Happy Cow. It was like it was on Sepulveda in Los Angeles, and it was like pho, the soup, pho,
yeah,
29 or 49. You can probably look it up. and it was just like water with no taste. And I was just like, what? How do you make a soup like this? It was water with absolutely no taste. So I asked for spice, and the spice that they brought out had no taste. It was just hot. There was no flavor. So basically I had just spicy, hot, and temperature hot water. And I was, those are the type of meals you just wish, you just think, I don't want to pay for this. This is, I mean, literally, I don't want to have to pay for this because this is insulting. So anyway, that was one of my worst experiences in recent memory.
And I love pho. So
Yeah, I love pho too.
that would really hurt me.
Yeah. Especially when, they're trying to make it up to you by bringing out their flavored spices and you put those in, and now it's just like hot. It wasn't even that hot. It was lukewarm, spicy, super hot, and no flavor. And by the way, I don't think there was anything in it either. I think there was maybe a piece of seaweed, a noodle. So, I don't know what they were thinking. Oh, and, the other place I thought was interesting, and this is something that you I'm sure you've had this experience too. Have you ever gone to a Chinese or like a Mandarin restaurant? You go in and you get maybe a vegetable fried rice, and they have peas and carrots that they got at the local grocery store in the frozen section, and they just dump those in, and then they put white rice in it, and they put it on your plate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I went one time. This was interesting because, often when I go to the restaurants and I say, they ask me how the food is, whatever, sometimes, the English that they're speaking isn't so great because I tend to go to the more adventurous restaurants in town. But the person who I went with happened to be Taiwanese, and she spoke Mandarin. And she was just, I didn't realize she was doing this, but she was yelling and I'd never really heard her yell before. She was just sort of like, no, going on and on. So what'd you say? She says, I told them that they were so lazy, and how could they take frozen peas and carrots and just put them into rice and call it a dish? And then they got upset at me because I put down their food, and I said, this is a disgrace to our cuisine. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I mean, you sometimes go to those restaurants and you think, my God, I can make something at home in 5 seconds so much better than this. But yet this person, all day, their job is to just kind of create recipes and make food. And how can they get away with this? And hopefully Happy Cow will help to unmask such restaurants.
I don't know how it reminded me, but it just reminded me of an incident that I had at Long Life Veggie House and that's a local place here in Salt Lake, where their chicken, we'd always go in and ask if it was vegan, because there was some conflicting information that we were getting. And one time I went in, the person said, yeah, it's vegan. It has 1% egg. And I'm like,
yeah, those kind of stories just feed me. There was a Quarry Girl. I don't know if you know who that is. She was a really famous blogger in LA. And she went into some restaurants. One of them I remember was Green Leaves on Santa Monica Boulevard. And they had all of these accolades, all these framed awards on their walls and documentation. But it turns out a lot of that was fake. And they were supposedly a vegan restaurant, but what she did is she took some of their vegan cheese and she had it analyzed at a lab and found out it wasn't vegan, blogged about it, and they were going to sue her. It was a whole mess that was going on there. They were after her after that. But yeah, it's such a shame when that happens. It's like, when you're serving food, you better check and make sure it's fully vegan if you're saying it is, because there are people that are allergic to eggs and dairy.
Oh, yeah.
You never know what's going to happen. But yeah, that happens.
That was an interesting blog. I read it. She actually analyzed a lot of different restaurants in California, right?
Yeah, she sure did. And it was a lot of, she generated, that's how she was sort of put on the map around the country, as she was analyzing quote unquote vegan restaurants. And she was finding out that they, their food was actually not vegan.
That's scary.
So, yeah. And it's, it's one of those things where, where do you draw the line there? I mean, what if, if they're not reading their ingredients, or if they're buying from distributors that are putting egg in there, how do we know there isn't beef stock or chicken stock in their soup? We don't know. They're not being careful. So that's irresponsible.
Yeah, totally. It's always bothered me. It reminds me, I used to work at an all vegan restaurant when I was 17. And I used to read her mail for her because she didn't read English very well. And all over the restaurant, it was during that whole, no MSG craze. She had all these signs everywhere. No MSG, no MSG. And she came back from the market one time with a bag of monosodium glutamate. And I'm like,
wow.
no, this is MSG. She's like, no, MSG is cheap. This is expensive. I'm like, then it's expensive MSG.
Yeah. She probably uses really expensive high fructose corn syrup too.
So she promptly took down the no MSG signs.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't trust someone on those levels, I mean, I've even hung out with raw foodists over the years that were cheating, and I was like, chefs that would go I would grocery shop with them, and they'd buy like soy sauce, regular soy sauce, and I thought, come on, people are trusting you. You got to be careful with this stuff.
So how did you get involved in the raw food thing? Like
food thing, yeah. Well, it was probably, I think it was in 1995. There was a place in Los Angeles called Oxygen Club, and I was invited to go to this new club, and I was vegan at the time. And I went in, and I remember there was this guy, John Wood, who was Woody Harrelson's private chef, and was one of the chefs, or was the chef at Oxygen Club. And I remember going in, and I could not believe how amazing this food was, specifically the desserts. I mean, to make an apple pie by just taking raw apples with cinnamon and almonds and dates as the crust, and then putting this concoction in a dehydrator for 5 hours. And then, I mean, it was absolutely amazing. I couldn't believe it. Just opened up my mind to the possibilities of healthy food. And here I thought, oh, I'm a vegan. Look at me. I'm, so healthy. But I didn't realize that vegetables could be turned into such things, like taking zucchini with a spiral slicer and turning it into like a pasta dish and making raw lasagnas and falafels. So what I did is I was taking raw vegan cooking classes for quite a while, and just learning how to do it. I don't own an oven right now. I just own a dehydrator, actually. I own my Vitamix blender and my Excalibur dehydrator. And, these are just products that I had researched. I mean, there's the Sedona dehydrator, which I heard is good, and there's the Blend Tech, but these are really good tools that basically last you for 20, 30 years. And I feel like they're a great investment, but those tools have enabled me to sort of basically be almost fully raw. One of the only reasons why I'm not fully raw is because I was eating so many nuts. I was putting from nuts in my desserts to the zucchini in the spiral slicer was my pasta. My sauce was usually creamy, and it was usually made with cashews or almonds. Mm-hmm. So everything I was eating was just nuts. And I wasn't a real fan of like just raw sprouted lentils and things like that. So I wasn't eating a lot of that. So and sometimes I'll have like a sweet potato. Sometimes I'll just I'll slice it really thin and have that dehydrated raw. But so. Yeah, for the most part, I still am, good percentage raw. When I eat out, and one of the reasons, I'm able to, sort of review restaurants for Happy Cow is there are only so many raw restaurants, and I wouldn't be able to review, I'd have just a handful of restaurants in the world to review if I didn't eat cooked. And I do enjoy a good cooked meal, good cooked vegan meal. But yeah, that's what got me into it was John Wood and Oxygen Club. And now in LA, there are so many raw restaurants. One of them, which is on my top 10 list of amazing restaurants, is called Make, M period, A period, K period, E period. It's in Santa Monica, and it is such a phenomenal, it's a raw restaurant. They do have honey on some of the items, but 98% are vegan raw. And this guy, Matthew Kenny, is an incredible vegan chef, and it's expensive, but it's for me, it's worth it just because it's beautifully laid out and the quality is phenomenal. So yeah, I think it's really easy to be a raw foodist these days. You can even go to restaurants and stuff. There weren't many raw restaurants then.
Raw food has always really scared me, like getting into it and trying to cook it. And I've had a couple bad experiences at raw restaurants, and then I've had the good experiences, but it's always really scared me because I'd have to completely change all I know about cooking.
Right. Now, with these experiences where you were getting sick from the food, or was it just that the food didn't have a taste, or what?
Just didn't have the taste.
Yeah. I've been the same way. I know that what happens, like, I'll give you an example. When you take like a collard green and you take nuts with garlic and you blend that up with spices and you make like a burrito and you eat a lot of greens, and a lot of nuts, especially when your body's not used to it, it's really difficult sometimes to get into that when your body's, so used to eating cooked food. But I started to get used to it. I was concerned. It was actually, it's funny because I was talking to Elisa Silverstone. I'd known her back then, but then I was talking to her more recently, and she said she got off. She was on the raw food diet as well, and she got off of it because she was eating so many nuts as well. Now she's just vegan. But what I found is that you do get used to that. But there are some things, obviously, like cooked lentils. I mean, they're totally different than the regular lentils. And sometimes if you eat a lot of those, you might start to feel, plus, especially if they're not sprouted. I mean, for instance, if you don't sprout certain like lentils and things like that, if you just soak them, you can actually get a little, I mean, I feel a little bit sick sometimes just because of the enzyme inhibitors. Almonds I like to sprout as well and soak them and get rid of that coating on the seeds to get rid of them. And sometimes when people are in a hurry and they don't do that, sometimes the food doesn't sit right in your stomach and you don't feel quite right. So yeah, I mean, but a place like Make, if you were to go to Make, I mean, they just have it down to a science. You would feel really good. And I think the flavors, they make this gnocchi that is, the only problem is the portions are not that big. So you always want more of things. At least that's what I find. But the quality is just really, really good. So I think you'd really enjoy a place like that. I think if you were to go to a place like that and then go to another raw restaurant, you might find that many of them aren't nearly as good as that. But that one just stands out in my mind as one of the best in the country.
We have a local place here called Omar's Rawtopia. And I heard they're really good. They're just pricey with small portions, and so I haven't.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be that way either. I guess that annoys me, huh? Does that annoy you? That, I mean, are these really? Do they have to charge that much, or is it just because it's a novelty? Does it really cost that much for kale and nuts?
I think it's the novelty aspect.
Yeah, and it does take a lot of time. I mean, for instance, like a raw lasagna, if you've ever made one. If you've ever made some of the dishes, they're pretty labor intensive. I mean, they do take a lot of labor time. If you just take like a steak and put spices on it and throw it in the grill, I mean, it's quick. But if you're doing a raw lasagna, you've got to actually hand make the cheese with almonds and the spices. And then you got to perhaps soak things overnight, and the perishability aspect. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like there can be we did have one. It closed here, but there was one that was a lot less. It was a less expensive raw restaurant, but it didn't last. So, but yeah, I mean, there is a big difference between a good raw meal and not a good raw meal, just like anything else. But if you are in Los Angeles, definitely check out Make. Treat yourself. It's excellent.
I'll have to try that. Last time, I actually went to that Oxygen Club and had a hemp burger there. That was years ago.
Oh yeah. That was back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So you went there too. Yeah, it was a nice location too. I think it was just like really expensive real estate, and they weren't serving alcohol, and a lot of times restaurants have difficulty surviving unless they serve expensive drinks. That seems
that can
to be
make
a way
or break you.
Yeah, it really does. So but they do charge more as a result. But that's just one that stands out. And there's one I remember in New York years ago. I remember eating at Quintessence, which I really liked. But I heard actually they're suffering. They're on a website trying to get people to donate money to keep their restaurant open. So I guess some of these raw restaurants are hitting some hard times.
Have you ever been to Vegetarian Paradise 2 in New York?
I've been to Veg in Paradise 1, not 2.
Is it 2 the one? 2's the one that's...
Is that in Chinatown?
Oh, shoot. I don't remember where it's at.
I've
only been to VP2.
Okay. And how was that?
I love it.
That's not a raw restaurant, though, is it?
No. Far from it.
Yeah, so it's a cooked restaurant.
Yes.
Yeah. I have heard that it is the best vegan restaurant, though.
Yeah. One thing that I've been doing a little bit of research on is this, obviously, the localvore scene, eating locally. And it seems to be sort of a trend of sort of growing your vegetables close to your restaurant. And, I know there's a restaurant in Maine now that's going to be doing that, where they grow, they only use vegetables and fruits and whatnot that are grown in Maine. It's cold up there, so it could be difficult, but they're doing it. I know there's one in Copenhagen that does that, where basically everything's just grown within, 50 miles of the restaurant or 30 miles of the restaurant. So that seems to be a new trend in restaurants. Haven't really seen it so popular in the vegan scene, but I have a feeling it's going to be the next vegan trend. But there was, in a magazine I was reading recently, the new vegan trend is high-end vegan restaurants, which is really taking off here in Los Angeles. Like Crossroads, for instance, Tal Ronen's new restaurant. Really, really good, quite expensive. But it's actually, I saw Moby there. I was talking to him there. So it's Paul McCartney was there too. It's a very all the famous people like to eat there. It's a place to be seen.
It's crazy remembering when you could go to a place and they wouldn't even know what the term vegan is, and watching it, flourish.
Oh yeah, it really is. It really is. Well, I really feel like the internet has had so much to do with that, because you if you're curious, you can learn about things, and you start to realize that there are so many scares in the food industry. And even when you read that spinach has salmonella, or vegetables, that's coming from an animal. That's coming from animal feces. It's not coming from the vegetable.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming from animals. So, but there have been a lot of meat scares, and, even with seafood and mercury. And if you're a little bit curious, and, you start reading, and then you read about, how meat affects just your entire health, you have access to what just about any doctor has access to now. And that's loads and loads of medical studies. It depends on how curious you want to be. I think that's really helped to push the scene forward. And people like Bill Clinton, who is not fully vegan, but he's pretty much there. And then you have a lot of these celebrities. It's just helping, these restaurants to take off. And then you have the guy in Vegas. You have the guy Steve Wynn. Who's really helped Vegas with Tal Ronen's help to create Vegas as a somewhat of a vegan destination. That place used to be terrible.
It used to be the worst.
I used to go.
Yeah.
I remember eating at the buffets. Funny, because you still can. When you read about the best buffet in Las Vegas online,
mm-hmm.
you can't. Those are people that want lobster tails
mm-hmm.
and shrimp and steak. But if you want, I remember years ago, the best one for me was at the Stratosphere. Like, it was like no one had even knew who went to the Stratosphere, but they had the best buffet because it was like all vegetables. And I thought, wow, this is really good. It was cheap. It was like $8.90, $6.99 or something. But now, with Steve Wynn with buffet, which is not cheap. Is it $34 or something? It's pretty
he does have some good vegan options that are cheaper now, though.
Yeah,
he does. Okay,
he's expanded. He has you can get a cheeseburger, milkshake, and French fries for $8 now at one of his
vegan
locations.
cheeseburger.
Yeah, vegan cheeseburger.
Yeah. Wow, cool.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's really made a difference. And now Las Vegas is showing up as one of the top destinations for vegans, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
And you also have Red Velvet right on the Strip now.
Oh yeah.
Inside the mall.
It's inside the mall.
Mm-hmm.
And always you got Ronald's Donuts.
Yeah, good old Ronald. It's really funny. You wonder. I've always wondered about that place. It's like, they say they're vegan, but obviously sugar can use bone char, to refine sugar.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really posed the question: which sugar are you using? Is your sugar vegan?
I actually know this. They use Domino, which is a vegan sugar.
Okay, so you've checked on that. Good.
I actually have, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I guess I eat donuts occasionally, but I'm not really. I've been vegan so long that I think after a while, when you eat donuts, it really has its impact on you. You just feel like, oh.
I just like their donut holes because then I don't feel as bad because they're a lot smaller.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, it's like fried refined flour with sugar in it.
Yeah.
That's a good for any diet.
Being in Salt Lake, sometimes we'll just take road trips to get donuts. It's pathetic.
Yeah. It's funny. There's a place in Los Angeles called Faux Nuts, and they bake their donuts. It's like baked bread.
Okay.
So they're not fried. So they've come up with a concept that's a little bit different. It's funny. That's one thing that I have never really tasted anything that comes remotely close in the vegan or raw world which I used to love, vegan glazed donuts. Like, vegan glazed donuts exist and they're good, but what about raw?
Oh, I don't even know how you would do that.
There's nothing in that raw scene. That's like any donut has never been captured by the raw food scene.
That's $1 million idea.
Yeah, $1 million idea to create the first vegan. So, how do you guys feel about this vegan meat that I've been hearing about? It's actually taking meat cells from a cow and then proliferating and creating this vegan meat. Did you read about that?
Yeah.
It's a gray area.
It's nothing I would want to consume personally.
You wouldn't want it.
No, I definitely wouldn't
No.
want to, because I don't want to have, just the idea of the true animal flesh is not. I don't think it's right for my body.
Yes.
But morally, it's kind of a gray area. I wouldn't, shoot somebody down for it. But
You know what I think is interesting, and I would be willing to do this? What if I donated some of my cells in my forearm, and they proliferated, and they were able to create human meat?
I would taste
it.
But I mean, can you imagine that at a restaurant? They should. I mean, why not? I'd be willing to donate that just to like get people to become aware of the fact that it comes from somewhere, and they can. I'd be willing to donate my meat to say, hey, look, humans taste better than animals. Just eat me.
I think it's the technology is so far away from making it affordable to do that I think
that burger was, I think, $60,000, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's and that's just it's the economy of the scale with it. But I think once they could actually get it down to a reasonable size, I think there'll be better alternatives that's healthier for you. So why would you want to have that protein instead of chickpea protein or something else?
Yeah. I just feel like when we start messing with things over time, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. We've seen that so many times, even in the vegan world. Have you noticed whenever you hear about a new sweetener, something ends up happening where we hear about agave. Oh, there's this new sweetener called agave. It's from a plant, and you taste it. Oh, this is so sweet. It's sweeter than sugar. Later, we find out it's basically like high fructose corn syrup. It's it's not much better for you. But I just feel like when we're messing around with nature in certain ways, it just comes back to haunt us.
So how do you feel about the new Beyond Meat that came out?
How do I feel? It's interesting. I like it. Again, I'm not a huge fan of vegan meat, but I do like it. And I do think that it's a great substitute for meat. But this is really cool. A few months ago in October, I think it was September, October, I was at Natural Products Expo East with my father. We were walking around the floor, and we go over to and he's a true carnivore. I mean, he does eat a few vegetables here and there, but pretty much a carnivore. So we end up going over to the Beyond Meat booth, and he ends up taking a piece of the Beyond Meat, and he eats it, and he says, Ken, my dad loves chicken. He goes, Ken, I like this better than chicken. And to hear my dad say that, my dad's really stubborn. He's the type, if I say, hey, Dad, will you try this Beyond? If I were to go up to my dad right now and say, hey, Dad, will you try this other brand of vegan chicken? No, I don't need to try that. He just doesn't really care. But he said it's actually better than chicken. And when I heard that, I thought, that's really cool. So I actually brought my dad back to the booth, back to the Beyond Meat people, and said, Dad, tell them what you told me. And they were really happy about that, obviously, because this is when vegans is a small group. It's maybe 2% of this country. The rest of them, if you can tap into the rest of them, those who are eating chicken, you're changing the environment, level of cruelty. You're really changing the face of the planet. And they have the capability to do it. And I know that is it Bill Gates? I think Bill Gates just put more money behind them.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, because he also is creating. He also put money behind that egg replacement. And then there's a product called the Veg and egg replacement. But yeah, so Beyond Meat, I like it. I mean, I think it's great. I remember first having it. I was told about it quite a while back, and it was when Whole Foods had it. Just in their deli section in one dish. That's how they got started. Whole Foods. And I remember ordering a chicken dish. I'm like, I'm not a real lover of chicken to begin with, but hey, this could totally pass for it. And it's good.
Everyone that I know has tried it that isn't vegan or vegetarian, they have that same reaction as your dad. It's either they believe it is chicken or they think it's better than chicken.
Yes.
But for me, I try it. It doesn't taste bad, but texturally, it's really weird for me. Yeah, and I think it's because it's the texture of like what chicken is.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, that happens to some people. There's plenty of vegan analog meats that are really close. There's another product at that same show, and this was, very interesting for me. There was a product called DF Mavens. It was a vegan ice cream. And my dad, they were really nice to me. That's one of the times when you taste something, you're like, hi, by the way, I'm with Happy Cow. Oh yeah, here's 10 quarts. So they gave me some. They gave me a bunch of these, and they gave me in dry ice, and they put them in a bag, and I brought them home. And I realized, wait a minute, I have to go back to Los Angeles tomorrow. I'm gonna have to leave these with my parents. Well, my dad calls me up and says, Ken, that vegan ice cream, I like that better than vanilla ice cream. And I thought, wow, this show has really had a great impact on him because he's now having vegan products that are better than his favorite foods. He loves vanilla ice cream and he loves chicken, Those are probably the two things he'd probably bring to the moon with him if he could, but yeah, so to hear that from a person who's really stubborn about it really makes a difference. And there's loads of products. Now, in Europe, I've really come across some incredible products. I mean, here we have like a Go Veggie Cheese, which is great. But Europe, there's a store in Berlin. It's called Vegans, Veganz. And if you haven't seen the interview that I did with the CEO, I think you'll really enjoy it. It's basically they have the first vegan street in Berlin. Jan Braddock is the CEO of Vegans. They're opening up 21 vegan grocery stores with about 7,000 products. 21 in 2 years by 2015, which is next year. So he's basically taking over Europe from London to Czech Republic. It should be open any day now. And what was really amazing is this vegan grocery store had over 80 types of vegan cheese. Wow. You can see them. You can see my interview on, you can just put on YouTube if you want to put in Happy Cow Vegans and you'll find the interview. And you can see what the store looks like. He's got the bistro and the bakery, and upstairs there's an Italian restaurant and a shoe store. And it's really cool. But, I had a brand of vegan cheese there called Gezzo or Gezzini. And, you basically would think that this is regular cheese. I mean, it's close, really close. So yeah.
Now I have to travel. Sorry.
Yeah. If you're going to go to one place, to really check out an emerging vegan scene that's happening at an incredibly rapid pace, go to Berlin.
Oh, that's amazing.
Berlin is 2.5 years ago, there were 0 vegan restaurants. Now there are close to 20. There may be more. I was there, I think in June or something. But now there's more. It's just going up, and it's one place that you'll just see. I call it the vegan capital of the world. Even though there aren't the most vegan restaurants per capita, I think there's going to be probably the most vegan restaurants there soon.
No, my friend Isa, she lives in Berlin, and she sent me a whole bunch of vegan stuff to try. It's amazing.
Really. What? What did she send you?
She sent me
space bars.
What was that?
Space bars?
I don't know if I tried space bars. I got some different chocolate bars. Is that what those are?
No, space bars are made by a company called Wheatie, and they're these vegan meat bars. And again, I'm not a huge fan of these things, but those bring back childhood memories. Like sausages that are so tasty.
She sent me mainly candy, but some other things I can't even remember now. It was about a year or two ago. So
yeah, I'll tell you. I don't know. Have you ever been in a full vegan grocery store?
I have not. I know Food Fight. Yeah,
it's incredible. It's such an incredible experience. You realize whenever you go into a store, when it's like a mainstream store, most products are not vegan, other than the fruits and the vegetables. And you really have to carefully look at every ingredient. But imagine being able to go to the frozen section, to the candy section, and just buy anything. It's really a great feeling. From the candy section to such a cool feeling. I felt like I was a kid in a candy store.
I'd always feel stressed out that they missed something.
Yeah, but and sometimes that does happen. I mean, I've seen some companies where sometimes they don't realize that some of their stuff is perhaps it's interesting because some of these candy companies, it always says our candy is made with the same machinery as is nuts and dairy. Mm-hmm. You're kind of wondering, and they can't stamp a vegan label on there, but they say they're vegan, so you kind of wonder.
I always wonder about those, the shared equipment or the shared facilities.
Yeah. Or shared oil, with certain restaurants when they fry things.
Yeah.
Sometimes they fry the meat with the vegetables. Yeah, you got to look out for that stuff.
That's one I won't do.
Yeah. It's funny, when we were in Italy, I was interviewing a bunch of people, some celebrities in Italy, as well as people, in the know, or just vegans in Italy. And there's one woman, because I just, you just assume over time that the majority of pizza crust if it's going to have something in it that you're not going to want, it's probably going to be dairy. It's probably have like cheese in it. But you sort of think, oh, it's mostly flour and water. Well, this one woman, Paula Malgari, was on MTV Italy, and she's an actress now, and she was telling me there's something called strutto, which is a pork fat, which is in a lot of Italian pizza crust. So if you think, oh, I'd like a vegan pie, just put some, sauce and some vegetables on it. You're basically eating crust, which is pork, made of pork. So
that sucks. I would have never known that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's I wouldn't have known that either. She told me that. And so what I decided, because, and I should have done this earlier, is there are things online you can get on your phone, or you can get the vegan passport from Vegan Society. So literally you go to a country, you turn to the page, and you just show them. Because, when you're you might be in like an Indian restaurant. Well, I'm trying to think of maybe a Chinese restaurant, an Indian restaurant, especially when you're in another country and they just don't speak English. And you're like, hi, yeah, I'm vegan. I don't eat. And they just smile and say yes. But you're not really sure if they know what you were talking about. And then when they come back, they've given you a steak.
Yeah.
So this passport, the vegan passport, or there's software that I have on my Android phone. When I launch it, I can just choose the country, and then I just give it to them and say, read, and then you basically know, unless they are illiterate, you're gonna get something that's vegan. So, and it's funny how many people they sort of smile and say yes when you're speaking, when they really don't fully understand what you're saying, but they want you to think that they do.
Oh, yeah.
And then they come back, in France, and I even speak French. I remember, telling someone and talking to him, and they came back with tuna fish all over my salad.
Oh no!
And I was like, no, that's tuna fish. But it's but that's a good tip, is not to sort of go, because what happens is people might go on the internet and they might read how to say I'm vegan in whatever language it might be. But your accent might be absolutely horrendous, and they may not understand a word you're saying, or they may understand a couple of words of it. But if you give them that piece of paper, or you give them that phone, and you say, look, this is, and it just says, hi, these are my beliefs. I am vegan. This is what I eat. This is what I don't eat. You sort of know you're going to get what, Actually, one guy I know, he brought that into a restaurant, and he showed it to them. They come back, and they give him they put fish all over his salad. He's like, what happened? Turns out the guy that he gave it to couldn't read. So that could be a problem.
Yeah.
But other than that, you shouldn't have a problem.
It's actually a good idea, because I've actually run into that problem here, like in Anaheim, Korean restaurant.
Korea, absolutely.
Yeah.
But what's really cool is it gives, I have to admit, I'm a person who I don't eat at all restaurants that are listed on Happy Cow. A lot of times I'll be interested in maybe trying a Korean restaurant that has what's considered to be the best vegan, whatever it might be, dumplings. And when I go into a lot of these restaurants in Koreatown here, a lot of times, the people are, I don't know why it is, but you go in, you say, hi, do you have anything vegan? No. It's like, hi, do you have anything? No. But I didn't say I didn't say anything yet. Like they want to say no before you even. So I've just learned that. And same with Bangladeshi restaurants here. Last week I called up a Bangladeshi restaurant. Hello, do you have anything vegan? No. It's like, how can you have nothing? Like, I mean, they could say, well, we have lettuce, but they just say no. But you kind of wonder, do they not understand what I'm saying? Yeah. It would probably benefit me to walk into the restaurant, show them the Bangladeshi page, and then compare my results of talking to them on the phone versus showing them in their language what I am, what I do.
No, totally. You should try that and let us know how it works.
Yeah. Because that's happening. I mean, it's funny because that's one thing I actually recommend all vegans do, because one of the reasons why I think there are so many vegan restaurants in LA was there were really annoying people like myself who would, go into restaurants knowing that they had nothing vegan in them and would walk in, hi, do you have any vegan toppings? Do you have vegan cheese? Knowing they don't. No. Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm vegan. Thanks. Just leave. Just sort of to make a point. And I find that you can do that. It's really not rude. You walk in, you just go into an American restaurant. Hi, do you have anything vegan on your menu? Okay, thank you. Those people are going to be either they are the restaurant owner, or tomorrow they'll be owning a restaurant, and they're going to think, they're going to think much more hard about putting something vegan on their menu. And that seems, I mean, obviously it's happened because of a reason. And I think, me, and I know my friends have done this. I have a guy who's I know a guy who's in Germany, and he's like, Ken, go over to see that pizza place? Can you please walk in there and ask them if they have vegan cheese or anything vegan? He knew they didn't. So I walk in and they're like, no, we don't. And then when you're done, Ken, walk out and just say, okay, thank you. Because what happens is he went in before I did. He wanted the guys to think that more people are going in and doing this,
That's an awesome idea.
a good idea.
I'm going to start doing it everywhere I go.
Oh yeah, everywhere. I mean, whatever country it is, and you'll annoy some people, but make it a point where you walk in and walk out. I mean, if you're walking down a busy city street, you should do it at least once a day.
Yeah. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you. How can people connect with you, like online or?
Oh, sure. Online. I mean, me personally, do you want my phone number?
Yeah. If you want to give it out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if somebody wants to contact me online, they can write, I guess I can give out my email address. It's just ken@happycow.com. Can you remember that? Is this too difficult? KEN@happycow.com. So yeah, that's my email address. That's how I can be contacted directly. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Has it only been an hour?
It's we're over an hour now.
Over an hour. Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Time flies.
Yeah, it sure does. Okay, well, thank you guys for interviewing me. Hope you learned something.
Definitely.
No, thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, have a good one.
And by the way, just for anyone who's listening, definitely check out happycow.com. We have our apps. You can go to the iTunes store for iPhone, or you can go to the Android Play Store for Android app. The Android app is free, or there's a paid version. The iPhone is $2.99. But that
it's
comes
worth
with
it.
The updates and everything. It's a great deal. And there are restaurants in over 150 countries around the world listed on Happy Cow.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you.
Hey, take care, guys.
Hey, you too.
Bye.
Hey, cheers. Bye-bye.
This week's episode, you've heard.
Future Rhythm Foundation, feeling kind of crazy.
And right now you're listening to.
Emancipator, Lionheart.
And as always, El Comandante's Which Side Are You On?
Did you know that we're on every major social media network site?
Every major social media?
I'm sure there's a bunch of little ones that we're not a part of.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Like we're not on Kink.
Kink?
Yeah.
Kinkden?
No, just Kink.
We're not on LinkedIn.
We're not on LinkedIn.
No.
No, we're not on 4chan.
No, but by that logic, we're not on Reddit either.
We have been on Reddit.
We have been on Reddit. We might have been on 4chan too. Fuck.
Fuck, I have no idea.
We're definitely on Twat and Faboo. Twatter and Faboo.
And if you follow us and like us, that'd be much appreciated. Especially if you can rate us on iTunes.
Yeah, go to iTunes and
Rate and review.
rate and review.
It helps us out a ton. And
We get more listeners that way. You can also find more podcasts of the vegan type at veganfeed.com.
Feed's awesome.
Yeah.
They don't just have podcasts, they also have blogs.
Yeah, and they have video casts. and
Video casts, yeah.
It's basically just anything to waste time, and it has a vegan aspect to it. No, we're not
What?
done.
Oh, we're not done?
We're not done. We're going to drag this one out.
Okay, let's drag this one out.
We have a wish list, and we wish that things were bought off of it.
Because we kind of need them.
There's an Amazon, and you can go to it.
And
with our link.
yeah, if you buy things on Amazon through our link, we get some of that money.
I think that's it.
You know, do you know you can buy cars on Amazon? Please.
Yeah.
If you're going to buy a car on Amazon,
I've been seeing those big fucking
use
boxes.
our fucking link.
Is that what those giant boxes are now?
Yeah.
That people have been
It was like,
seeing?
I can't remember who, the car company.
Mazda,
I can't remember. I have no idea.
something. I think I read about it too.
Yeah, but seriously, if you're going to buy anything on Amazon, use our link.
I like how small their logo was on that box. Like you'd think that they'd plaster it more places, but it's just right at the corner, the Amazon,
Just like they don't, well...
because that's their normal box. but it's just an oversized version of their normal box.
Am I the only one that thinks their logo looks like a fucking penis?
I think it looks like a smiley face.
God damn it! No, it looks like a penis.
I'm gonna look right now.
We really are dragging this one out.
Yeah. Amazon.
Penis. Brink.
It looks like a guy smirking because he has a boner, but not quite a penis.
It's a left-leaning penis.
A little bit. Fuck shit damn. That was the worst.
Fuck, man.
Shit down. Now I see a penis all the time. I look at that. They just put penises on their box. That's probably their intent the entire time with the whole company. Let's build a company up to the point where we can get away with putting penises on packages.
Okay, seriously, fuck shit damn.
Fuck shit damn. I was talking to you.
I'm still gonna keep all this and
Whatever.
fuck it.
Fuck this whole show. Fuck this podcast. Fuck everything. Shit down.
Which Side is produced by the Which Side Media Collective.